This is Travis Megre. I want to say, Tim, what I love about this energy that you're bringing and the way that you started with, like, welcome back, it makes it sound like the time between last episode and this episode is just like a long commercial break.
Yeah,
like they're just. Oh, you're too. Well, thank you for staying tuned to.
Isn't that what everyone's life is between episodes of deathBlart is just prolonged waiting.
I feel like I've been holding my breath, and I've been waiting to exhale, and now I'm going to do that all over the microphone. This is Griffin.
I'm assuming people are binging at this point. Highly bingeable. This is just a bit like an autoplay this episode after you finish the last one because you're binging through them. Hi, I'm Justin McElroy. I'm the oldest brother of the three related people on this show that we have now shortened. Only do it once a year, but God, who has the time to say the full title of Till Death Do Us Blart? It's deathBlart.
Next year, the intro will just be like, "Welcome to death." This is the boys.
Hey fam, welcome to the DB. I'm Justin McElroy.
Listen, people are talking about this show so often they don't have time to say the whole title.
Thank you.
What
yes.
in this meme-scape blogosphere?
Sure.
They don't have time.
So I feel like in the 2017 edition of this show. Yeah,
well, we should let Guy introduce himself.
Yeah, Guy, say hi.
Yeah, I'm also here just so everyone's secure in the knowledge I'm alive and well and fresh off a screening of deathBlart. No, what's it called? Paul Blart Mall Cop 2.
No, the name of the movie is now deathBlart 2. They've rebranded. Well, you're in India, so maybe in India it was released under the title deathBlart.
That's right. Try as I might, I couldn't find a bootleg copy of the Indian screening of Till Death Do Us Blart 2, so I've just opted for Netflix's screening, which here in India plays pretty much exactly the same as it has the world over. I believe I'm probably the first tri-country screener for this film.
Jeff. For sure.
There might be some sort of hip jet setter who's just going around the world.
Kevin James? Probably
it could be
Kevin James has
just
watched it. Yeah.
Crisscrossing the world, just sort of planting the movie like Johnny Appleseed. But instead of Appleseed, it's very bad jokes he's doing. So last year, I feel like we got this revelation like halfway through that I want to see maybe it would be a good table setter where like in 2017, after like 45 minutes of discussing the movie, we all kind of revealed that we really liked it. And I'm wondering how everyone's feeling about the fourth viewing.
The energy for the third episode started with us saying, like, guys, I love this fucking flick. Like, Guy was a little more reserved. To his credit, I think history will show. To his credit, was a little more reserved with his phrase. I watched last time. Me, Travis, Tim, and Guy all watched it in the same room here in beautiful Huntington, West Virginia, in my living room. And it was a joyous time that we spent together as friends.
Oh, I drove down just to watch it.
This time
it was really life affirming.
This time I watched it.
I watched it solo, set to the Dark Side of the Moon album, which I did not. I wanted a clean watch, a vanilla experience this year.
This time I watched it at 6:30 in the morning while I folded laundry. And gang, I don't like this fucking flick. Oh, really? Teresa, I don't like this fucking movie. It's like literally the moment it started, I was like, I don't want to watch it.
Teresa asked me. Teresa said, "What did you think about it this time?" And my response was, "It was like running into an old lover, and now we're sort of friends, but the spark has died." That's very much how I felt this time. Of like, yes, we knew each other's bodies well at one point, but now it's just awkward.
Now it doesn't know how to please you anymore.
Yes, very much so.
My like overarching like feeling about this watch, I got a lot of good belly laughs and a lot of new ones that I'd like to like explore for the first time. But the big thing that hit me that I couldn't like stop thinking about was the weight of the commitment we have all made with this podcast.
Yeah.
And it was specifically the scene where like it's opening up and giving you some establishing Vegas shots and it's playing that "This is gonna be the best day of my," and I realized I'm gonna have to hear that song at least once a year for the rest of my life until I die. And I got really, really, really existentially like fucking freaked out.
I had. Well, I'll let you, Tim and Guy. You guys go.
Yeah. How did you come down?
How was your watch?
I just want to respond to what the feeling that Griff's got. I mean, it's maybe we're numb to it because we've been through the fire of having that week to week of having to return to a bad movie and that sense of commitment. but I relished the challenge. I did not have a good watch, you guys. I did not enjoy it. It was very late at night. I actually sacrificed my cell phone to the gods for this one because I took it into the bathroom with me and dropped it on the floor. And I tell you what, these new fucking Samsungs, they're a delicate beast. They're beautiful, but they're so delicate. And now my phone is smashed while I was streaming Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. So Kevin James owes me his cell phone.
Yeah, that may be the worst moment any human being has ever suffered in their life, that they broke their new fancy phone while watching Paul Blart Mall Cop 2.
Yeah, it was pretty much a low point of my existence on this plane so far. Also, before I throw to Guy for his reaction, I'll just add that just to add a little spice, because based on what you did last time, Griffin, I wanted to do something kind of special. So I was actually going to download the film and reverse it, like frame by frame, and watch it backwards, but I didn't get round to it. So instead, I just watched the first one immediately after the second one.
Oh my god!
So right now, I am like really sleep deprived because it's very early in the morning, and I was kind of up till 2 a.m. just watching Kevin James do his thing on a Segway. I didn't have a good time, guys. 0 out of 10. Guy?
I can imagine watching the second film from 10 p.m. to sort of 12 or 11:30, 12 a.m. But to go through it at that late at night is it's classic Bat and it's commendable, Tim.
Who was I lashing out at, Guy? You know, the
Yourself.
only person I was hurting was myself. It's insane.
I'd like to also sort of, while Griff felt the existential burden of watching this film, as the sole member of the troupe currently stationed in Gonda in South Goa, India, I felt the sort of logistical weight of this agreement pretty strong. I got to tell you, Goa, not famous for its broadband or internet speeds, made for a pretty testy day. Right now, I'm actually I'm staying in some sort of resort / beach hut, and I was in quite a bustling restaurant, and I have witnessed as the entirety of the place is closed down around me. It is now just me and a solo chef. And I mean, all in all,
what time of the day is it?
It would be midnight here in India.
What the?
Okay. All right.
So, we're all
There's
we're all
something so
doing
poetic
something.
about what you've done, Guy. Midnight in India. It's just
Midnight
It's a
in India,
song.
just you and Blart.
That's
Yeah.
the
Solo
subtitle.
chef.
That's the subtitle of Paul Blart 3. Paul Blart Mall Cop 3, Midnight in India.
I want to say I am angry at this movie for also a meta reason, which is now, Tim and Guy, you have both mentioned streaming it. I bought it on Blu-ray, had it shipped to me on Amazon because I was like, you know what, this year I'm going to check out all those special features.
We got
Nice.
to talk about these features.
First of all, I was really, really excited to watch the deleted scenes because I was like, oh, this is really going to open it up. There's going to be some stuff in these deleted scenes that's going to make so many things make sense. Each deleted scene is tops 5 seconds long.
There is very little chaff on this flick, y'all. Every shot, every frame of painting, they had to
They
use it all.
Kubricked it. They used only as much film as they needed because they didn't want those meddling studio heads coming in.
There are some deleted scenes that, no joke, are just like a reaction shot between 2 reaction shots that are in the movie. Like, and they're like, that's getting on the Blu-ray. Like, it's amazing to me.
Did you try to watch the bloopers?
Yes, I did, Griffin.
I felt like I was carrying a casket at a funeral the whole time I was watching these joyless blooperinos. Maybe
Deselect Paul Bearer on the. Oh, they should call it Paul Bearer
shit,
on the
that's
DVD.
good. The 5 of us are kind of Paul bearers on this annual watch of Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 until we die. Oh wow!
There are 2 minutes in the gag reel where it's literally just the faces people make when they say a line wrong, and like no reactions from anyone on set. It's just like, and it's like, those aren't gags. That's not a gag.
A lot of it is
certainly not
Kevin.
scenes.
a lot of it is Kevin James eating things like a beast.
Yeah.
Like every third blooper is him just like eating spaghetti with his hands, and everybody's just fucking shitting their
it's
pants.
There is a
it's just
moment where
voyeur footage captured on set. He didn't know it was being filmed.
There is a gag in the gag reel that's just Kevin James demanding a bucket to spit the bite of food he has taken during a scene, like where he's like, they've called cut and he has this mouthful of food and he's like, can I get a bucket? And while waiting for the bucket, he just like displays the food in his mouth to the camera, like a 12-year-old.
He's like a child.
Which is
Hey,
rough,
before we
you
get
know,
into the,
it's a shame. Oh no, you go ahead. Sorry.
you go ahead. No, please
I
go
was
ahead.
just going to say it's a shame that Kevin James undercuts all of his hard intellectual heavy lifting in the creation of the script and execution of Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 by showcasing this juvenile and childish sensibility in the blooper reel.
Mm-hmm.
I can illustrate for you all. I can't think of a more crystalline way to describe how much I did not enjoy the watch this year than to say that during the previews on the Blu-ray, there was a preview for Here Comes the Boom, the Kevin James movie in which he is a school teacher who becomes an MMA fighter to raise money for his school. And I thought, I'd rather watch that. And
Yeah,
like
that's serious.
that sums it up.
That's a huge problem. Before we get into the recap of the film, which is usually what we do next, I wanted to mention this year that we have 2 sponsors for the episode this year. We auctioned off, I guess you'd say, this prestigious honor on Twitter. We have 2 sponsors kicking in a sizable chunk of cash to charities in West Virginia and New Zealand, so we are thankful to them. And who are they? Well, first up, it's The Rook and the Raven. They make high-quality, disc-bound Dungeons & Dragons gaming notebooks for both players and DMs. That's Dungeon Master, folks. Their Mischief and Misadventure campaign books not only feature a unique disc binding system that lets you add, remove, and rearrange the pages to suit your campaign. Sounds great. But they are also compatible with a variety of accessories and add-ons, such as wet erase overlays and spellbook card holders. You can see what all the fuss is about at therookandtheraven.com/deathBlart and get $6.90 off your order by December 1st.
Justin, some people out there might be wondering what Dungeons and Dragons are, and I think that's probably Guy in my territory. So I might chuck it over to Mr. Montgomery just to explain a little bit about how that game works. Guy, you're a seasoned D&D aficionado.
That's right.
And just lay out in broad strokes, how people can get introduced to the game, what it's all about, how you play.
Yeah. I'll do it pretty quickly, actually. Such is my innate understanding of the game that I can describe it within 3 sentences. Dungeons. They're like prisons. Dragons, like dinosaurs. Together, that's a hell of a game, everybody.
The efficiency on that, it matched, the filming process for Paul Blart Mall Cop 2.
What's left to say?
Well, there is this left to say. It's about our other sponsor, 99% Invisible, hosted by Mr. Roman Mars. Have you ever looked at a toaster and thought, what the fuck is that supposed to be? And I wonder if its story could make me cry. Well, the answer is yes, it could. Its creator was a beautiful, kind, generous human being, I'm sure. And you could find out all about them and all the other people who made up stuff that you take for granted, you ingrate, on every episode of 99% Invisible, a podcast about the things that we take for granted, like terrible pieces of garbage. I would like to highly recommend a 99% Invisible mini-series that recently aired called Articles of Interest. Avery Schroffman did a sort of a mini-series, not exactly 99% Invisible, but definitely within its bounds, and it's on its feed, all about stories behind fashion and appreciating like design in terms of fashion. So there's an episode about blue jeans. There's an amazing episode on Hawaiian shirts I would highly recommend. And of course, there's hundreds of episodes of 99% Invisible that you can go catch the wave with me and all the other people that love the show. And that
Roman
is
Mars he's a silk-voiced demon. His voice is like treacle on Christmas morn.
It's like sex.
Okay.
We can say it.
Fucking.
Yeah.
it's a sexual
It's like
voice.
fucking.
It's a sexual voice.
It's like fucking on Christmas morn.
It's like when you dip your flaccid penis in a nice warm cup of treacle on Christmas morning.
Okay. 99% Invisible is the name of the show. I don't need to tell you how to find a podcast.
Wait, why flaccid?
Why
That's
not
how
be
you
flaccid,
have
guys?
sex, isn't it?
So there's
You
the
put
logo.
your penis
It
in the
says
treacle.
Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 is what the logo says, and then the movie starts. It's the beginning of the movie at the beginning of the film. Paul Blart Mall Cop 2.
Do we need to do we people y'all fucking get it, right? He's a big joke of a man, and he's a miserable. My watch this time again, new laughs from me, and I'm talking big belly laughs. I was watching this with Henry from some of it because he was home from daycare for a couple days because he had hand, foot, and mouth disease. So I was in like a place where I just needed some levity. I came to the realization that Paul Blart sucks shit, and he's a miserable fuck of a person, and he fucking hates his daughter. Like he slut shames her and like doesn't want to support her dreams, and is just awful to her. He's awful to every person he meets for no reason at all.
I
There's not
also
no
realized
reason.
that. I realized that, by the way, too, Griffin, because there are moments where, like, when they're like, oh, your room's not ready, and he leans in and was like, I'm the keynote speaker, I'm kind of a big fucking deal, give me my room. Like, hey, piece of shit, your room's not ready. Like, why are you demanding things?
When he comes up on the guy who's like has the segways, and he gets on a segway to like show off, and the segway guy's like, hey, I need to see your ID, and he's basically like, fuck, I know you're just trying to do your job, suck my nuts. Like, I'm just gonna steal your segway. And there's no reason for it, Paul.
Where's your sense of empathy, Griffin? This man has just had everything important in his life except for Maya taken away from him. And as someone with a recently smashed cell phone, I felt a lot of empathy for Paul Blart, even though he was sort of the one who caused it this time. Hey, is it like a spoiler for me to let you guys know some shit that happened in the first movie?
Can we play a game where we guess what happened in Paul Blart Mall Cop 1?
Go
before you spoil it.
There's something in particular about Maya, or
okay.
about
Tell. I
right.
need to know.
What?
Give me any information that makes this movie make more sense, please.
This is the only interesting thing in all of Paul Blart 1, and I don't know, it was just interesting to me. So, okay, we know that in Paul Blart 2, his wife has left him after 6 days, right?
Which I understood this time. I got it. Like, I think in the past she's been meant to be colored as like, oh, she left him, how mean.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, well, maybe he's a piece of shit.
I spend 2 hours a year with this guy, and I can't fucking with him.
Did you guys assume, as I did, that that woman was Maya's mother?
No.
Oh, okay, just me.
I mean, that would make Maya 6 years old, because this movie takes place 6 years after Paul Blart Mall Cop 1, which she's not.
True.
She's in college.
I never did the math on that. So it turns out that Maya's mother came to Mexico as an undocumented worker and had the baby just so that she could stay in America, and then like slipped into American society and left Paul with Maya. It's pretty fucking dark. Which sort of matches the fact that they kill his mum with a milk truck without a second thought.
That is a wild... Kevin?
Yeah, man. He wrote that. We need to talk about Kevin.
We gotta talk about Kevin and his fucking
Could somebody
choices.
do something about Kevin, please?
I want to talk about Kevin as author. Because Kevin, the actor, like, not one fucking laugh. The only laugh he gets out of me, like, pretty steadily is his reaction to Myrtle eating the old banana. That's like, I really feel like Myrtle and, to be honest, the old banana are carrying most of the weight of that scene.
You got Guy good. I just said that giggle of recognition.
That banana
scene.
scene is like, you could pull it out, you could put it into any movie. It elevates that film.
Which, by the way, I noticed something new about that scene. Myrtle says, do you mind if I eat my lunch? And he gets out this bag with an old banana. It's like 9 p.m. Is he a vampire, like a vampire, but like a fruit bat vampire? I forget what. Oh yeah, Paul Blart didn't get a single fucking laugh. It's everyone else, and in almost every scene where another character does something funny, it really paid off for me. It's just when Paul Blart appears, he corrupts it and ruins it.
I had a revelation this year as to how to make this movie, one, make sense in a very meta and wonderful way, and two, maybe make it like the most brilliant like art house comedy I can picture. Are you guys ready for this?
Yes.
We've talked before.
Is this
What?
building on what Griffin has introduced about second
absolutely.
players? Okay, because I want to continue to talk about this subject
Yes.
of underappreciated performers in this film.
Absolutely. So I think that what Kevin James has done in the writing of this is he has written two Paul Blarts, right? There's the completely incapable, we've talked about this before, completely
I
incapable
watched both
Paul
of them.
Blart.
He did.
Right. And then we watch, but when like the adrenaline kicks in and the action adventure part, that is a very capable Paul Blart, right? They should have cast someone else to play the capable Paul Blart and just had it switch between the actors without ever addressing it.
Who played RoboCop?
Yes. Like, I don't know. I don't think he was played by Dolph Lundgren, but Dolph Lundgren as capable Paul Blart would be great.
I mean, RoboCop just showing up would be great because that would pay off that joke. At
well,
the
he's
beginning.
not real.
But also, that had nothing to do with my point about the other
had
actors in the
nothing to
film
do.
being
No,
very, very
absolutely.
good.
Justin
lied.
asked about it, but I wanted to get to my
So you did lie, sure.
I wanted to continue to talk about this subject because there's
Does anybody have a highlight?
there's people delivering in this film. The two that still continue to work for me I don't think Con Mubi has gotten his sort of
Oh yeah.
due on our show.
yes.
The brilliant
Thank you,
Shelley Desai
Justin.
delivering. He basically only has like
Four?
two to three like really good moments. The first is the hug where he is hugging Paul Blart, and Paul Blart says he really appreciates it. It's a nice moment of genuine tenderness in this flick. And then he hugs him again. He said, "Oh, there's a little kiss on the shoulder."
And you see it. He's not lying. And I think it was an improv. I think that's something that he just added
I
in
think
the
he just
moment.
added it.
And
Then it's when he
KJ
shows up
went
at
with
the fight wearing a cape because he came straight from a haircut. Great, excellent comedy.
Isn't that great
Con also
world building?
has a deleted scene that I actually really liked, which is, well, it's not about him, it's about everything else that happens right after the drone scene. But a little throwaway gag in there is that they're going to go do karaoke, and Con Mubi has told them that he used to open for Quiet Riot. And it's just
That's all right.
That got me.
My other one, we have heaped praise on Anna Gasteyer and her performance. I did want to touch on Gary Valentine as Saul Gundermutt. Which, when I told Sydney what their last names were, as I was looking at the credits, I said, "Oh, it was Gundermutt," and she said, "That name makes me want to throw up." That's legitimate. That's legitimate
I wrote
reaction.
down so few notes this time, but I just wrote down the name Gundermutt because it
Gundermutt.
really got
It
me
stood
this
out to
time.
me too.
Here's the reason it stood out to me, and I don't know why I noticed this, but there are two times when Saul Gundermutt comes up to Paul Blart to talk to him when Paul Blart is in the middle of doing other things, and both the times he walks up to me, he says, "Hey, did I catch you at a bad time?"
I catch you at a bad time.
Both the times, fucking, like the first time I noticed it, I thought, that's a fucking weird thing to say to somebody when you walk up to him randomly. And then he did it a second time, and I was on the floor. Hey, did I catch you at a bad time? So good.
The old lady room cleaner got me.
Yeah, always.
So hard. Again, she deserves an Oscar.
I got a new laugh, and it's a highlight for me. A new character to add into the equation, and there's an air of mystery about this. And you all may have not even noted this performance, and maybe you'll want to actually go back and watch the movie a second time just to catch it. 21 minutes, 34 seconds into the film, it's during the Chekhov's gun convention where they're going through all of the new tools and explaining explicitly how Paul Blart is going to use them in about 51 minutes to thwart the bad guys. There, 21 minutes, 34 seconds is when they get to the booth that has the glue gun, the CGI glue gun.
Yes.
And the vendor at that booth is a man who is extremely nervous. This segment opens up with Paul Blart and the 4 security guards sort of fanned out behind him, all looking so stone-faced and bored as if this is the 67th take of this. Paul Blart says, "What's the latest, friend?" And then it cuts to the vendor who says, "The big sticky mess, a grenade launcher that shoots glue foam." Exactly like that. And his inflection goes, "That shoots glue foam." And he places the emphasis on foam, and halfway through the word, he's like, "Foam." The camera cuts away from him and back to the crew of people who just nod sort of solemnly, and then it cuts away. It's 7 seconds long. The big sticky mess, a grenade launcher that shoots glue foam.
Quality control of this
so
thing
fucking good.
is a nightmare. There's at the exact same the convention. There's a man who gets about 5 seconds of screen time, again approximately, and he says,
"Marbles. You can't run with these under your feet. You can't even stand."
and it's like,
Fucking dude
what?
got me
The
this
dude's
time.
performance is amazing, but also like,
So serious.
why is this guy they're marbles, like real marbles, like colorful marbles. Who at this convention is like, good, you get a booth, come on in, that's a perfect thing for here.
Well, we
What's
got
the
this
line
one
again?
booth. What's your cousin do again? The marble guy? Yeah.
Doesn't he? He like looks down the barrel of the camera thing. What is the wording? He's like, "You can't run on these. You can't even walk."
You will trip a man on these later. You will trip a threatening man
and
with
also,
these.
barely that carries through to when the marbles are in action. It's the most feeble of all the weapons. All of the mouse get a moment in the sun, and the marbles kind of spill out the front of it.
Well, and the glue gun breaks after the first usage too, which makes me think that these guys knew that they were selling a lot of snake oil. Just hoping
That's a
would
good
use
point.
these items.
I'm pretty sure the big Segway explodes after Paul uses it to ram into a guy. I tell you who else put in work for me this viewing, and I did not expect this. Eduardo just really impressed me this time.
That's who I was about to bring up. And do you know the actor's name? Also Eduardo.
Eduardo.
Yeah. The line he says about like, "Why are you here?" And he says, I thought Minnie Kiss was playing. I laughed out loud at that. Like, his delivery on it is very sincere.
Yeah, and the scene where Paul Blart's giving his speech and he's like, "If anyone could do this, then," and then it cuts to him like watching the speech and he's like, "Anybody could do this." Man,
There's a
yeah,
there's a deleted scene with Eduardo proposing to Davina.
Oh wow, they
And
really
then
went deep.
Then she, that's when she flees from Eduardo to follow Paul Blart. And Eduardo says, "I know it's only been 4 months, but like," and then he proposes to her and she runs after Paul Blart saying, "Me amor."
Yeah.
And then that's what then leads to Eduardo on the rooftop saying, "You couldn't stay out of it, could you?"
Oh, interesting. Wow, that one maybe should have been in the cut, I feel like.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I don't understand.
That doesn't make any sense, that scene, how it is at the moment, because, shit. Okay, it feels like a fever dream because I did watch this late at night and then watch the first movie after it, so my recollection's a little scrambled. But, like, the way that the exchange happens, Eduardo's like, "You should have stayed out of it," and then Paul Blart says, "They've got my daughter," and it's like it hasn't undone the information that Eduardo has in his head. It's just added new information, but suddenly he's on board with Paul.
Yeah. Also, in that final confrontation, he gets shot in the fucking spine, and in the next scene, he's like, totally okay. There is no battle damage on Eduardo as he like befriends Paul Blart in the denouement of this scene. He just got shot in the fucking back, and now he's like totally good. He's unkillable.
Speaking of secondary characters, I did pull up IMDb to remind myself, and you know Hank, who's in the movie, who shoots at him in the suitcase?
Sure.
Yeah.
Henk.
Hank.
According to IMDb. His name is Henk. Hank.
There is a typo in the credits that has been transcribed to IMDb.
It has to be.
I watched it with subtitles. That's the dude's name. Man.
He's German, maybe.
There were so many good bits, right? And it's all people who aren't Paul Blart. And then Paul Blart dips his fucking snoot in, and he's like, "Windershins, chicken chow lane." And those jokes are so bad that they make my balls go up inside of my body.
My least favorite in the entire film is she's saying he should come to L.A. Say, yeah, if I want some smog on my earthquake flakes. Like, fuck off, dude. If you're not going to write a joke, just have him say, I'd rather not come to Los Angeles.
No, thank you.
I don't think I'd enjoy it there.
I feel like
I'd rather not.
What's happened is the subtlety and nuance of this great bit of joke writing is maybe flown over the heads of the brothers McElroy. Los Angeles is a town famous for both smog and lying on a fault line. And so he's used the writing device of metaphor, wherein he's suggested that these sort of, geographical or meteorological faults are some sort of breakfast meal. And he's framing it in a way to make it sound desirable when in reality his intentions are for it to sound incredibly undesirable. And that is why I was tickled pink by this brilliant piece of writing and comic execution.
Boys, is it possible that we are not giving Mr. James enough credit?
No.
And the reason
Let me stop you there.
Well, I mean, he was co-writer, right? So like all the funny things that everyone else did, he did, but he didn't write anything good for Paul Blart. It's like Kevin James is the shadow man torturing Paul Blart from outside of the script.
If I can, I was actually, if we can make it a little more serious for a second, I'd like to have a serious discussion with you all for a second, because Sydney pointed something out to me as we were looking at the credits. She said, what does this, like, Kevin James wrote this movie. What does it say about Kevin James? And I haven't been able to stop thinking about this question, because it feels like if you view it as like Kevin James honestly dealing with his own ego and his own self-image, I wonder if there is a compelling, like, it's obviously not in the movie or on the screen or anything, but if there's a compelling thing you can learn about Kevin James by a character that seems so sort of, he talks in the movie about his contradictions, but obviously, like, he is hesitant to pay someone $1 to help him with his bags, and then he spends $60 on craps. Like, there's all kinds of, he makes his daughter carry around mace, but then when she says she's kidnapped, he says that they're just kidding with her. Like, there's
that part blew me away.
It's amazing. But like, he's someone who sees himself as sees himself as a superhero, is occasionally superheroic, and then is in the next breath like a garbage person that is despicable in every sense of the way. Is there something you can learn about how Kevin James is sort of feeling about himself by paying too close attention to Paul Blart?
Just
man,
quickly,
absolutely.
I hope not.
I'd like to paint a brief overview of how I visualize the writer's room for Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. So, as detailed by the script, it features two people, I believe, Nick Bakay, whoever that is, and Kevin James. And Nick is just sweating over a laptop, trying as best he can to get a story out. And Kevin James is just walking around the room eating dry cereal out of the box, yelling out every third thing that comes into his mind. And Nick's going, "Are you sure, Kev?" And he goes, "Absolutely, put it in." And
Chicken
in
chow
between,
it's gold.
these incredible little set pieces, these little vignettes, which almost stand alone. You've got the banana, you've got the shadow man, you've got, it's a low blow, but that old lady getting blasted by Paul Blart, that gets a laugh every year. Around these beautifully crafted little bits of filmmaking, Kevin James has just inserted, every third whim that's occurred to him halfway down a box of cereal. I don't think it's, I don't know how much it can say about Kevin James, because I think Kevin James thinks about himself in broader terms than eating dry cereal.
It makes me so sad to think that any aspect of this franchise could be autobiographical.
Sure.
Like, really sad.
I just feel like
thanks, guys, I'm sad now.
We're not supposed to like Paul Blart. I don't think they did a bad job making us like Paul Blart. My theory now, the only thing that got me through this movie is, of course I don't like him. I'm not supposed to. Because so much of what we enjoy in, like, the comedy in the movie is his failure and his, like, how bad he is at everything. And like him, he gets kicked by a horse into a van, and that's like the button.
I want to
like,
continue to support this theory as somebody who is okay. Kevin James lost a lot of weight for Here Comes the Boom for 2012. Then he makes Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, and he appears to have regained a considerable portion of that weight. I think that there's some self-loathing in the portrayal of himself, and the reason I say that is if you look at there are actually two portrayals of women who are I think larger than the typical actress that you see in a film like this, with his daughter and the other officer, Donna, who are like I said, larger than the typical actress, but are not in any, or at any moment is that played for laughs. Like, I was actually thinking about his daughter's performance is actually really refreshing, because she's it is not the that is not the actress that you would normally see picked to play this like sort of ingenue role in Hollywood classically, and yet
with a love interest and a love storyline
exactly.
that is not a joke.
It's not a joke.
Weird.
It's like,
and she is so good every year.
She's fucking great.
She is great.
She's so consistent.
Guys, sorry, I know you're winding up to something, Justin. I don't want to burst the bubble, but I have a feeling that may have been in response to the feedback they received from the first film.
Fuck.
Because there is a scene that unfolds inside the Victoria's Secret, inside the mall, between two patrons of that store, one of whom is not the typical Hollywood actress, and dear God, there would have been a letter or two. In some ways, it's good, though, in one of these movies, because you've got a very self-selecting audience, and they don't seem like the kind that would, I don't know, write letters or kind of kick up a fuss about anything.
You did go see Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. I mean, you like, some of the blame is with you.
For the few who did get in there, I don't think they would have been leaving the cinema very happy with the depiction of that woman.
Can we talk about the keynote speech? I don't know if you were done, Justin, but I wanted to talk about the keynote speech.
I am done. I don't want to delve any deeper into Kevin's psyche.
I'm sorry, it's so early here, and I'm so tired.
No,
I apologize,
you're legit.
but
It's completely legit. I'm looking for anything to help old Kev out. I don't know. Maybe Kevin is just maybe. I don't know. I don't know how he feels about himself. I just hope he feels okay about himself.
And I'll butcher the phrasing, so I won't bring it up verbatim. But like, so what happens is there's a fight that breaks out in the Victoria's Secret between two women who are fighting after the same bra. So Kevin James gets like calmed in there on his walkie, and because it's a dispute on his territory. And he goes in there and he tries to console the woman, or kind of talk her down off the ledge of this fight. And he says, listen, you know, big people like you and me, we got it tough. And he just continues to spin that out into a big speech about how big and lumpy this woman is and how their lives are difficult as a result. And actually, her response to it is quite satisfying, because she she kind of doesn't let on to how furious she's becoming internally, and she just takes off her earrings and she says, "Can you hold these?" and gives them to Kevin James, and he takes them, and then she tackles him and beats the shit out of him.
That sounds good.
That's
I
satisfying.
could have done with more of that in this flick.
Hey, while we're talking about it, what's the deal with Foot Locker?
Fucking never addressed, my friend.
No. That has to be a reference to the first movie. What's the Foot Locker thing in the first movie that they reference in the second one when he just yells Foot Locker?
I watched every frame of the movie very recently.
No, bud. What's the Foot Locker thing, though? From
Listen,
Paul Blart
man.
Cop 1 that they're referencing.
I know, it was late. You must have missed it, Tim. There he is.
Tim,
I can't
way.
speak French, but I'll try. Le Paul Blart de Uno. I watched it. It's not in there,
you're
friends.
kidding. I just
Fuck
sort
you.
of. That's impossible.
They literally just paid for an ad, and I think Kevin James and Nick forgot to write it into the script. And Kevin James realized as they were shooting, he was like, fuck. They gave us a lot of money.
Nothing happened.
Foot Locker isn't even in the movie, dude. There's so many
Tim, you're fucking
commercial
with me. That's
considerations.
impossible. Like, folks,
No.
if you don't know exactly what we're referencing, right before the big fight scene, to try to amp people up, Paul Blart says, "We are trained to detect, deter, observe, and report. But one day, 6 years ago, a man did more than that. And I am that man. We are that man. and so we say to you, sir, Foot Locker. And I just, because he's
one step
referencing
further, Justin,
the actions
then
of,
he trips.
Well, he trips,
Yeah.
but like, that's not, the point is,
But then he says it
No,
again.
but
Yeah.
he says it
repeats.
twice. He
Yes.
dips back into the well.
I assumed, not even assumed, I knew that it was a reference to the first film that I hadn't seen. I just knew it.
You're coming in with so much confidence. I'm really doubting something that I'm like, shit, maybe I did miss it, but I didn't, man. I had that screen glued to my face. It's not
No, I
in
just
there.
did a
Foot
Google.
Locker- you
I
dropped
just
that.
did a
Foot
Google.
Locker is a good chat. It rocks the lads up. You know, you want to get out there. You're fighting with non-lethal weapons against 8 or 9 pretty irate, like trained henchmen. You got to say something to unite the troops. And what better word than the popular athletic apparel store populating all sorts of American malls, save for the one that they shot the first Paul Blart in, apparently. It's a rally cry.
It's wild.
But you want to talk about the keynote?
I want to talk about the keynote. I want to because this watch I tried very purposefully to map out the keynote story arc. If you've not watched the film, the first half of it, a lot of the drama comes from the fact that there's this keynote speech. Paul thinks he's giving it. He's not going to give it. And then he ends up giving it. I tried to map it out. First appearance, he shows up in the hotel. The Mall of America security guard, I can't remember her name, Donna, says, by the way, did you hear there's a secret keynote speech? And word around the street is that the secret speaker is you.
Nope.
So
No. This is so important, Griffin.
she never says
she
it's
she says there's someone who's gone above and beyond, and then she kind of winks while she like non-committally
Okay.
points at him, and then he says, do you really think, I mean, I had hoped, but do you think? And he doesn't say, is it me? And she says something about not giving it to RoboCop, and so she's excited that that dude would be there, and he thinks that she's saying it would be him.
Travis, you're right and wrong, because you're right that she never explicitly says that it's Paul Blart, but I think she believes it is.
Huh.
That is certainly
It's what-
what I am, like what her actions and her words and deeds
Yes.
certainly lead one to believe that she thinks it's
Otherwise,
him.
it's a horribly cruel thing she's done.
Well, but see, that's the only way it makes sense to me that she's so irate that he would start talking about standing down to RoboCop.
Sure.
RoboCop. But like,
Yes, the concept of a secret keynote speech with an unknown speaker is wild in the first place. The fact that Paul Blart would assume it's him is a logically. I am just not. I'm willing to give this movie a lot of elbow room. That's fucking wild. And so then the rest of the
I disagree,
Let me
sir.
finish.
Okay.
The rest of this first half of this movie, there's so much about the keynote speech. He's like confronted by like the other security guards, and they say, word around the street, rumor is you think you're giving the keynote speech. How did that word get around the fucking street in the last 9 minutes since Paul Blart found out he was giving it? And then he gets hit by a car and he's laying on his back, and Maya leaves the room to like go party without him, and she's like, I'm sorry about the keynote speech. This is a thing he didn't know existed 18 fucking minutes ago, and this movie is playing like sad boy music over this tender moment of her apologizing he's not giving the keynote speech, and then he goes out to give the keynote speech, and Gundermutt goes out to introduce him and says, I know you all were excited for the other guy, and it's like, for this secret keynote speech? What's up with the fucking keynote speech?
What's the purpose of a keynote? I thought it was to draw people in.
Yeah.
Yes. I had this thought watching it, right? Because to disagree with you, Griffin, what the fuck did this other guy do that is better in the annals of security guard history than saving an entire mall from like a team of robber terrorist people? I don't know what happens in the first movie, Tim. Maybe you can shine some light on it. But for Paul to assume he's going to be the one, it's like, yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
Maybe
That's
there's
fair.
a Paul Blart 0, and there's all of the questions we have is answered in
yes.
that, like a zeroed floor of Paul Blart.
You mentioned
And it's set just in a Foot Locker, and Nick's there, and he's a hero.
Griffin, the first time he runs into Saul Gundermutt and finds out that he is not going to be delivering the keynote. I want to touch on that scene for a while because the pacing on it is baffling. He finds it like Saul Gundermutt says, yeah, it's going to be, Nick. It's going to be great. and Paul Blart is heartbroken, and then Nick shows up and is hostile to Paul Blart for no reason, as we've just addressed. At that moment, he then, like, as he's getting bullied, mid-conversation, he sees someone selling Segways and goes over to steal one. It's like there's no connection to this confrontation that he has just had with this person, and also the huge disappointment of finding out he's not giving the keynote. Both of those like narrative beats are flushed into the toilet so he can ride a Segway and get hit by a car, which is great. It's just like there's no building on the momentum that they've created narratively for no reason.
Are we asking too much?
No, I think here's a behind the scenes theory I would like to posit. They had 48 hours to film in this casino.
Huh.
And so they were like, well, we were going to have 3 different scenes where he finds out he's not the keynote speaker, and then another scene where he's confronted by Nick, and another scene where he rides a Segway. But we don't fucking have time for that, guys. So we've got the one scene to cover all 3 of those story beats.
Yeah,
Let's
I'd
do
buy
this.
that.
This is
I totally
this is
buy
the
that.
first film that ever got access to film on site at the Wynn Resort. So it had to be a pretty limited shooting window, if I had to guess.
Well, I would say that it's probably because it's not an ideal shooting location because of all of the like dimensional rifts all over the place.
Makes it hard to try and coordinate your teams where they walk through a door and then turn out to be not just many physical miles apart, but like on a different
Ethereal
plane.
miles. Yeah, so I'm glad that Tim is coming with me and he didn't question it. He said yes and very much to my point, because there's definitely dimensional rifts all over where you can pass between the like material plane and like the plane beneath just that one, like the
lane
dimension
plane.
just on the lane plane. Thank you. Yes, actually, I think that I would posit that Lane is trapped between the planes, and rather than like trying to romance Maya, he knows that she has Blart blood like running through her veins, and so like she can pass between the planes also. So he's trying to get her
I
to
like
like
that.
go into the cave so that he can leave it, sort of situation.
But then he does fall in love with her. I do want to make that clear because he chooses not to
let her. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
The reason for my multiplane theory is that the criminals do things in broad daylight in front of a casino full of people. There's a moment where Hank is chasing after Paul Blart.
Hank.
I said it correctly.
He said Hank.
Hank is chasing Paul Blart. Paul Blart comes up with this plan to get in a suitcase and go down. It's not funny. It's not funny. It doesn't make any sense. It's classic Blart,
It's
right?
funny when you say it.
No, what's funnier is that Hank goes to the bottom of the staircase where he will soon be brained by a Samsonite. But before he does that, he pulls out a gun and just empties a clip into just shoots in the middle of this casino lobby. The only way he can do that without getting seen and the cops called on him instantly is because he exists on a plane where the rest of the casino goers cannot see him.
I feel
like
the same
that,
way,
and
Griffin,
this-
by the way. He pulls the gun out in front of Myrtle as well. And
Yeah,
Myrtle's just like, okay.
Myrtle doesn't see him because
flinches.
Myrtle's on our plane.
Speaking of these planar shifts, that might explain why Paul Blart thinks that he can lie and tell Myrtle, the shipping man, that he works for shipping internal affairs when there is a patch on this man's shirt that says he does security at the mall. Like it says
Right.
it
He shows
right
to
there on his
Myrtle.
fucking shirt.
There's 2 scenes that back up my plane theory. One, the whole bird fight. Like
Yep.
that whole bird fight takes place in a garden where you cannot really see back inside of the resort, and so like
Yeah.
this isn't just like a rift between planes. This is like a portal to the Shadow
It
Man's
is
lair.
absolutely the room in the second Matrix film where
Yes.
the architect is. It is
Yes.
the central point, the nexus of all of these interdimensional worlds.
It feels like
But
one of
we're-
those like engines in a Douglas Adams book. You know what I mean? Like, like
Yes,
like the large man chasing the peacock while the other man plays piano is like
Yes.
hyperdimensional travel.
Right. The other scene it's so great because it's the Cirque du Soleil scene. The title of which I think is called Dreams. So maybe it's not
it's
riffs. Maybe it's a dream. Maybe it's like a
Reeve.
dreamscape. This is where like the planes fold in and everybody in the audience exists in both of them simultaneously because the criminal is chasing Paul Blart on a stage in front of everyone. Like there's no way, everybody doesn't see it. So like everything kind of collapses in that room. And that's why that sequence is so bizarre, is because it is in this like anomaly zone. I'm just saying. Yeah. So and it also explains that, Lane's not a ghost. He's trapped between the planes. I really got stuck in this.
So what do you think that Lane is exactly? He's more of a traveler, like an interdimensional traveler rather than a spectral form.
I think he's like, so Paul Blart can cross between the planes. He's like one of the only people
obviously.
there. Maya can do
Walker.
it. Maya can do it too. Lane can also do it because he experiences the criminals, which by the way, when Maya walks in on the criminals and kind of gets embroiled in all this, they're holding a man at gunpoint. That is never explained or referred to ever
No,
again.
it is. Didn't we unpack this in a previous episode?
It's entirely possible.
Oh, yeah. That's the guy who told them the wrong information about when the paintings were being transferred.
Okay,
Yeah.
You're right. So Maya I think Lane just has this same ability that the Blarts have, but he unfortunately found himself at this casino some time ago where you get, trapped and you've always been there Shining style.
Can I address something Lane related real quick? Because the other day I was driving around and I had my Sirius XM set to 90s on 9, and Da Dip came on, the song that
God.
Lane introduces and Maya responds to. That song debuted in 1997.
Right.
So, assuming that Lane is at least 18 years old to be working at this casino, it came out the year he was hypothetically born, if he is not an unstuck-in-time traveler.
Not fair. Because after they sing together, Lane says, "I can't believe you know that song." So
Yes, I took note of that also.
So Lane is
wild.
noting that it is unusual that he would know Da Dip.
That's how he found out that Maya was a plane walker as well.
Of course.
Okay.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So that's my theory. Also, my last note here. This was my final laugh of the movie, which is a shame because it was about 35 minutes before credits, so that was a long dry spell. But it's a new laugh, and it was a new pure and good laugh, almost as much as Hank shooting the Segway. The scene where Vincent's oatmeal allergy is. It must be wild to listen to this fucking podcast without watching the movie, huh? But the scene where Vincent's oatmeal allergy is revealed. A fake security guard criminal man gets in a gift basket and he pulls out an oatmeal cookie. Vincent says, "What is that? What do you have in your hand?" He says, "Oatmeal cookie." Vincent says, "I'm deathly allergic. What are you trying to do to me? Get rid of it." This guy then proceeds to walk over to the doors to the balcony, throws them open, and just throws the cookie.
Chucks the cookie out of the balcony. Like, you got it, boss. I won't let him hurt you.
It's like he was grown he wasn't born. He was grown in some sort of vat or tube and came out of it 14 minutes ago and doesn't know about trash cans. He's like, "Make it go away, okay? I'll put it as far away as I can out the balcony." Holy
Fly away,
shit.
cookie.
God, this was good for me. God, I needed a cigarette after this fucking bit.
I had a moment in this watch that has never struck me as like, wait, what the fuck, as it did this time, which is, so Maya and Lane escape off the balcony. They go running seemingly like across like a huge field or yard or something, and they see a security guard and they approach him, and it's one of Vincent's guys.
Yeah.
What's he doing there?
How big's this crew also? Is the big, like, I want to go through and count how many criminals he has on the roster. Because I want to say, like, including DB Woodside, who I still want to reach in and grab and pull out of this movie Purple Rose of Cairo style, so he doesn't have to be in it anymore. There's like 45 fucking people.
Is DB Woodside the NSA agent who's got the stolen razor screen?
Yes, from
device?
Buffy and from 24 and yeah.
But was
And Paul
Vincent's
Blart Mall Cop
instruction?
too.
And Paul was Vincent's instruction to this guy like, you go and just stand by those doors in case the 2 kids we have locked in our penthouse suite, which has got to be, I don't know, 45 floors up, shimmy down some like sheets and try to go in that door.
Vincent has more henchmen than ideas.
Yeah.
And he's pretty much sent a lot of the crew out and left them to their own devices. This has been
He
a
definitely
5-year
forgot
mission for
this
some
guy.
of them. They don't know why they're still in the mall. You got a lot of shadow plane walkers who are sort of obliviously walking between the 2 planes of existence. So they're chaos agents because they don't necessarily have any agenda anymore. They just so happen to be blindly walking to and fro as interrupters to the base of the action in this film.
Guy, what needs to happen for them to be freed, do you think?
I think Myrtle's got the right idea. I think you got to eat your way out.
Yeah.
I thought that I might get some clarity on this movie and be able to bring something special to the show by looking at the trivia for this film. I learned a couple of things. One is that Jayma Mays, who played his wife, couldn't do the movie because she was filming Glee at the time.
Oh my God.
So she was written out of the movie, and that is what happened with that.
But they didn't just write her off. They so spitefully removed her and made her to be a
to the
baddie.
film.
I implore all of you to cast your minds back to the writer's room I described.
Right.
Kevin James did not take to that scheduling conflict well. You can't be in my movie? Fuck you.
I do have some other... but the bigger thing I want to report is that our people have infiltrated the trivia on Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 in a big way.
Great.
A few little factoids to know. The hosts of the podcast Till Death Do Us Blart have dedicated their lives to watching this film every Thanksgiving for the rest of their lives. That's 49 of 52 found that interesting. 73 of 73
Is it not?
73 of 73 people found this interesting. A producer has stated that a character called the Shadow Man was going to appear in the film. The character was going to be a godlike being who put Paul Blart through his trials. After a great amount of discussion, it was decided they removed the character, seeing the studio wanted to keep the film grounded in reality. That, folks, is an utter fabrication is just sort of thrown out here in the trivia, which is supposed to be sacred ground. It's supposed to be hallowed ground. 5 of 5 people found it interesting that the piano man in the bird scene is actually the Shadow Man. The character was going to kill Paul Blart in a brutal fashion and was going to have more screen time and a backstory. It was taken out due to director Andy Fickman wanting the movie to be more lighthearted. So there's a couple of different theories.
I feel like we are
true.
producers in some way because what are the... who else is promoting this film right now? In
Kevin
any way,
James.
shape, or form, except for us. I don't think he's moved on, man. He had a comedy special pop up on Netflix I saw this year that I did not watch, but it's there. And he's been making movies semi-annually, it seems, since this came out.
Kevin
he's
Can
moved on.
Wait, too.
We haven't.
He's got his own... He's got Kevin Can Wait.
Yeah. There are 2 more things in this movie that I would like to address. One, the ridiculous moment that, there's so many things to unpack about it, but I'll just say when the guy who moments before, maybe an hour tops, was super drunk enough to pass out, couldn't do the keynote. Everybody else fights. Kevin's at the top. Oh no, they'll never make it. He kicks open the door to the roof and says, "There's no helipad up here, but there is over there." And he has grabbed the grappling hook gun and fires it across to the other side.
It's another one of those scenes where they need 7 things to happen, but they don't have time to put 7 scenes in the movie. So they're like, okay, we'll use this guy. We'll say that he's not drunk anymore. We'll say that him and Paul have patched things up. We'll say that he knows everything that's going on in the last 15 seconds on the roof.
And where the helipad is.
He knows where the helipad is. He knows that there's criminals doing crime here, and he knows that they're over on the helipad. He went ahead and got the grappling gun.
I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the shortcuts they it took to deliver this at a crisp 94 minutes runtime. Because you can imagine this being, if they had to go through and actually like explain in real terms all of the stuff it took us so long to figure out the whole criminal plan and how the layout, the floor plan of the hotel works alongside the story of this film. Like, I'm glad they didn't tell us that, because it'd be 2.5 hours.
Here's the second thing that I realized, and this is a huge revelation, and it's right at the end of the movie, but you can't convince me I'm wrong. Paul Blart has moved to California with Maya. And here's how I know this.
Yeah.
In the conversation with Maya about her going to UCLA and them being apart and her leaving, he then says, and anyway, as like in response to them being separated, and then shows her the huge check Mr. Wynn has given him. He has moved there. He has given up his job at the Orange County Mall or whatever to move to Los Angeles with her.
But when he gets a phone number from the police officer, you didn't think that would intimate that he lived there? And
I realize that, and because now I would like to follow that up with what I want for Paul Blart Mall Cop 3, which is Paul Blart Mall Cop, but he's a security guard at Disneyland.
I mean, that would be pretty good.
I think it is a Universal flick, so they'd probably do it.
They would probably do
Universal, that's fine too.
Yeah.
And that tracks because he could do Universal City Walk, which is just like a giant outdoor mall, and then it would still track. So
here's what by the way, as long as
of-
he's in LA, my money is on doing Paul Blart Mall Cop 3, Nakatomi Plaza. And I just...
I was going to say, keep it in a building. Don't go down the same path that Die Hard did. That's what killed the franchise. You got to keep Paul contained.
Mm-hmm. You can try. That actually, so that goes along with, I solicited some questions.
Wait,
from
hold
Twitter,
on.
and one of
I
them,
need to, before you get into questions, because I do want to address questions, I want to talk about Nick again.
okay.
That...
The drunk man? Yes,
the drunk man, Nick, who is supposed to give the keynote speech for reasons that I don't know. Is it clear to us? Because I don't know what they would be, why Nick has been chosen to give the
It's in Paul Blart Zero.
The only indication we have is at one point he tells the story. We hear the tail end of the story of him stopping one from stealing yogurt. That's it. That's all we hear. And so the best we can assume is he is being honored for stopping a yogurt theft.
Yeah, I mean, Paul Blart did better shit, but he sucks ass so bad that like they didn't want to do him.
He is bad at sucking ass. That is established.
Nick Pinero,
He's
as played by Nicholas Turturro. So that's just like two different times where you couldn't come up with a name. For a different character. So you're just like, he is, by the way, John Turturro's little brother. In case you needed that, yeah. Nicholas Turturro plays Nick Palermo in this film.
Turturro is also part of the wider Sandler verse. If I remember, I think I remember him from The Longest Yard. He shows up in a few Happy Madison productions.
It makes so there are 3 scenes with Nick in them, and each one is more baffling than the last. But I think as an arc, they really take it home. So we've covered. He goes to Paul Blart and is a complete asshole to him for literally no cause at all. It brags about delivering the keynote. Then we've covered his third scene where he arrives for no reason and shoots a grappling hook. What's the connective tissue of this, will you ask? Well, it's a scene that we've talked about before, but boy, watching with my wife especially with these fresh eyes, really just again wanted to bring home the worst scene in the entire movie, where Paul Blart sees a man who has been nothing but utterly cruel to him, hitting on a woman who does not want this attention. Paul Blart, Mall Cop 2, walks over to this man who he hates and this strange woman he does not know, and then proceeds to not only defend this hideous man, but takes his side against this woman he does not know, and then proceeds to gaslight this woman into thinking that Nick Palermo was concerned about her fucking security. It's the most so that's what it. So ladies,
so persuasively,
right.
In fact,
this is the extent that guys will go to keep from saying that you are correct in your assumptions about terrible men. They will take the get the backs of people that they literally fucking despise, that they have known for zero time, just to not admit to a woman that sometimes they are assholes. Like this is the depths of our depravity.
That's a good point. This guy is literally, at this point in the film, his nemesis.
Yes.
The other enemies haven't really been fleshed out
The
or introduced at all.
worst
It's
person in the movie.
but you know who the real enemy is? All women.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's kind of what they're going. It's miserable.
It's so
Weird
miserable.
will
flex,
also
but
say-
okay, Kevin James.
A weird kind of connection I made. Maybe not weird. Maybe other people now have made it too. But so that scene also made me realize Steve Wynn is in this movie. Steve Wynn, who famously this year had to resign because of sexual misconduct allegations. And so it's a weird
rough.
kind of
Yeah,
connection
it's
that I made
extremely
watching
rough.
the movie of like,
Can we extend the no bummers tag to this podcast as well, boys?
Yeah, right.
I mean,
Yes.
it's important that we talk about this. This movie is going to be important to us for a long time. I don't think anything's off the fucking table.
True.
okay.
But
Hey,
now
can
I-
I just
I do
because I
want to
know
stop talking about the movie, though. It's
Casino
not great.
magnates are usually such likable figures.
Guy, I just want to know what the Indian experience was of this film watch.
Yes.
Because that's such an exotic place to be consuming this.
Yeah, well, rest assured, in spite of the lack of sort of critical acclaim this film has received, it is competently enough made to suck the life out of any surrounding environ. I was watching it on my phone, not the ideal screen, at sunset here in beautiful Agonda in South Goa. And to be honest, it's like this is a weird resort town. So it's like beach town anywhere, you know? So I had a lot of space around me. I was just watching Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 on my phone anywhere. It's the recording environment, which is, you know, it's interesting. I'm splayed across like a sort of lounger. And I've had a great time listening to you boys run your mouth with your various reminiscences and your harebrained theories. I mean, Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, it's not going to be great anywhere, but it is watchable anywhere, you know? This year, India. Next year, who knows?
I thought that was
moon.
true because I tried to get my wife Zoe to watch it with me because I was like, I got to watch this thing in bed anyway. And so I said, "Do you want to? You didn't watch this with me last year, right?" She's like, "No." And I was like, "Okay, cool."
You were in Huntington,
probably
West Virginia.
And she tried and got 6 minutes in and then said, "I'm out," and then turned the light off and rolled over and went to sleep. 6 minutes, man.
The same happened with Teresa because Teresa has yet to watch it with me, and I said, "Hey, watch it with me this year." And she watched like the first 50 minutes, and then she said, "Well, I'm gonna go run errands," and left the house. And what she did have to say, Teresa did make the observation that the soundtrack to this movie is very incongruous with the rest of the film, which I could not agree with more.
Did you try and explain to Teresa that 50 minutes in is when a lot of the conflict that's been introduced is going to start, you know, being unfurled and then eventually resolved? Because I'd hate to think that anyone in the world has seen 50 minutes of Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 and doesn't know how the security guard convention in conference room F resolves itself. Or
And Travis, did you tell your beautiful wife that there's a great scene where Kevin James has to lick drops of ice cream off the floor like some sort of garbage person? Did you give her that cool heads
She
up?
did get back in time to see him punch the old lady, and she did laugh at that. So, like, she saw the highlight as far as I'm concerned.
During the
Fucking
ice cream scene, the ice cream girl holding the cone has a sister, and the sister says out loud the line, "Daddy, look at the beautiful flowers. Can I draw on them?" There are no flowers. There are no flowers.
Okay, good.
There aren't any
Draw on
flowers. The
them.
flowers aren't there. But moreover, if flowers were there, what the fuck are you talking about?
And beyond that, the father responds by saying, "Not now, sweetie." On the phone.
Daddy, look at the beautiful flowers. Can I draw on them?
Not now, honey. Daddy's on the phone. Go with mommy.
And can I also say, no, he's not. He is not on the phone. We
phone
see
call?
him. He's not
Those
speaking
around
to
you.
anyone. I don't see a phone.
Assuming he does have a phone, though. Like, how much are you gesticulating that anyone within a 20-meter radius is incapable of drawing?
You can't draw on the flowers. I might hit you.
It's just there's stuff like this, and the stuff like the security guard opening up a clip into a dormant segue, and the man throwing the oatmeal cookie over the balcony. Like, these are the funniest things I've ever seen in my life, and I don't know, how much of that was in the script. Because if it was in the script, this movie's legitimately quite funny.
That's our boy Nick Bakay hammering away at the typewriter between Kevin James's outbursts. That is a visionary doing his job. I have no idea what else this guy's done.
So we have some questions.
He was the voice of.
Make sure we get through.
He was. I'm sorry. A very quick piece of research has revealed that the co-writer of Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 was the voice of Salem in Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Get
Holy
the fuck
shit.
out.
And Norbert Beaver on the Angry Beavers.
Get out.
Shit!
Slam dunk.
I just
Okay.
smashed out the Netflix version of Sabrina, and I tell you what, that sassy talking cat was the thing I missed most from the Melissa
for sure.
Joan Hart years.
For sure.
So
Questions.
Maria asked on Twitter, does the movie pass the Bechdel test? And if it does, is that a sign that we need a new Bechdel test? and let me assure you, Maria, I watched it this time with that in mind. No two women ever speak to each other in this movie.
I don't think two women are ever on screen at the same time.
No, there is one where Donna is fighting the other woman, and they like make eye contact, but no dialogue
No
is shared.
words. Wow, that's true. Wow. What's the opposite of the Bechdel test? That it truly has to be true. Like a movie has to be like
The Bechamel
truly
test.
just the Bechamel test, where movies are particularly fail that Bechdel test pretty fucking hard, about as hard as you can.
It ain't
The,
easy being cheesy.
The Sandler question, I think, is the opposite of the Bechdel test.
The Sandler paradox.
Sherry asked, what booze pairing would you recommend to match the mood and themes of this fine film?
Methylated spirits.
Okay.
I think I've always watched it like during the day on a weekday. Like I don't think I've ever
We've only watched it
drunk
during
anything.
business hours because it's like it's a
Right.
job.
It's a job, but like and this is not a joke. I feel like I get drunk off this film. I feel giddy, and I feel like I just watched something that took place in another universe, and my head kind of reels for a bit. I don't know if anybody else gets that phenomenon.
I'd just
No,
like
absolutely.
to say, as someone who who watched the film accompanied by 2 Cuba Libres, which is a rum cocktail, you're not going to go wrong with that combination.
I would recommend, I think I would do Cinnamon Toast Crunch and you pour rum chata over it.
Yeah.
Or
And then like just eat that.
or on a Kevin James and eat it straight out of the box.
Also that. Vash asked, if you could play a character in the movie, who would it be?
Oh shit.
I wouldn't want
Myrtle.
to.
Yeah, I was going to go
I would want to be
Myrtle, but-
Vincent. I really like that character, and I think that what Neil McDonough does with it is really good.
But you don't want to take it. That's the thing. I don't want to take it from Neil McDonough, right? Like I don't want to take the God shoots foam. I don't want to take that dude's shit away from him.
The way you
so I would
described
say-
his delivery
sorry.
of that line suggests he needs that as well.
Could you give me that one more time, Griffin? I'm just going to set something up so I can make it my ringtone.
Yeah, sure. Let me know when you're good.
I'm good.
The big sticky mess, a grenade launcher that shoots glue foam.
No, okay.
I don't want, let me finish. I don't want to take that guy's job. The person who I would want to play is fucking Paul Blart, because I'm not saying I could deliver those lines and physical humor gags a lot better than Kevin James, but I would sure know how to stop telling a joke after telling one joke and having it land, like him saying, "Did you smell that guy? He smelled like vanilla and cinnamon." That's kind of a funny, weird thing to say, and then he keeps going with it for like 15 seconds and just strangles the life out of it. I would just stop. Like I think I could do that a little
He
bit
seems
better.
like Kevin James constantly seems like he was waiting for everybody filming the movie to laugh, and so he just keeps talking because
Oh,
they didn't
man.
laugh yet.
That's sad because his background is stand-up, so you're probably right. Oh, man, that makes me so sad. Oh, I'm getting like a tightness in the chest thinking about
Get off
this
it,
damn
Tim.
film.
I'd quickly like to say, not that he needs defending, but while none of his delivered or written lines were necessarily funny this screening, I thought Kevin James's physical comedy was
it's top notch.
Yeah, he's gifted. He's
without
gifted.
peer, incredible.
Yeah.
I will also stand by, not today, Death. and him coming out of the water. That's a solid moment that I will always enjoy.
It's big. It's big.
It's a big moment.
It's not for everyone.
Justin, do you have?
I don't know.
I was gonna say when we were filming our TV show, all 6 episodes of it, the first day we were filming, we noticed the crew a couple times trying not to laugh because the crew's not supposed to, and we told them like it's okay, we don't really care if you guys laugh. It helps us know if it's working or not, and it's it's okay if there's the noise of people laughing on the thing. And then we immediately regretted it because then the rest of the show was like, well, they didn't laugh that time. That was just deciding to not laugh. They just didn't enjoy it because they know they're allowed. So we fired all them and started again with a new crew that they were forbidden from laughing.
I want to be Shadow Man, and I know that's big, but he's so beautiful on that piano.
So
I'm
fucking
sitting
good.
here and have so much to carry, though.
I'm kind of tripping out because I'm thinking about people, not to say nothing of like my individual prowess, but just like anybody that I would want to like, oh, you didn't really capitalize on this role. And there's almost no one, guys. Like, there's almost no one who's like not like note perfect in what they're doing. It's just everything else has failed them.
Yeah. This question is from Rebel. Favorite line? Least favorite line? I could hands down my least favorite is chicken chow lane.
Chicken chow lane sucks
every fucking time.
Is that worse than Windershins, which is a garbage word that doesn't mean anything?
It means like turning left.
I think
no, it doesn't.
Or counterclockwise.
That's Widdershins, which is
right.
Which is only barely a word.
Before.
Yes,
Yeah.
Chicken chow lane for sure is the worst line.
I think my favorite line is probably if I want some smog on my earthquake flakes.
Come on.
That's really good. It's a pretty good joke.
Hey, Guy, can you explain why?
I'd like to think I can, but I will resist the urge.
Damn it.
My best line is right after Maya has supposedly like been kidnapped and disappeared, and Paul Blart gets the cops to come in, and they're sort of going down a list of questions like, do you have money? No. Are you famous? No. And do you have a wife? No. And then one of the security guards just out of nowhere just says, does anybody love this guy? That's my favorite line. It's very good.
I very much enjoy the Vincent line of "Let's see if I bankrolled the right NSA agent." There's something about that and the delivery of it that's
you're being
really
ironic
weird and
though
wonderful.
at this point. You're not choosing the line that you think is really the best.
I think that could be the line that would make you laugh the hardest because it makes you fucking think. Like, what's the plan, and why would any criminal say this out loud instead of just thinking it?
No, you're right. My favorite line is, I'm definitely allergic to oatmeal. You're trying to kill me. That one I enjoy immensely.
Yeah, my weak point is on my left kneecap.
I think for me, my favorite line is also the worst line in the movie, is while he's in the middle of playing craps on a really hot table. And then after the craps are done, someone off screen just says, like, for about this distance, oh, the fat guy ruined it. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
They clearly ADR. I've never seen ADR. This is cyberbullying, right? Because it is ADR, so it was done in post. Yeah.
Rob
qualifies.
Schneider and Adam Sandler were mucking around in the audio booth. While the film was in the edit.
I reckon my favorite line, and maybe it's just the loaded anticipation that I know what's about to come, but it's when Myrtle says, do you mind if I eat my lunch? Because it is both such a weird response to finding out that someone from the Department of Internal Affairs is here to check on your work. Like, your nervous reaction is to sort of shrink back into yourself and get really hungry. That's not something I've experienced before. And then, of course, we know that moments away from him producing a fully decayed banana, you guys. It is at its final stage of existence. It is
banana is
great.
already a funny fruit.
It's a great segue then into Seth said, what do you think the very old banana was actually made of? And then someone named Aaron asked Bob Clendenin, who played Myrtle, any insight here, to which Bob Clendenin responded, sure. Prop guys put fresh banana in an old skin. Still gross, and I ate like a dozen of them because Andy Fickman is a sadist.
Oh,
so
Bob
like,
Clendenin, what a
that's
hero.
What a fucking pure transaction we had just there on Twitter, the worst
Did
platform
someone
in
from
the
our
universe.
show ask, like, was this prompted by Till Death Do Us Blart?
Oh yeah, oh definitely. Yeah, this is inspired by
this
Till Death
this
Do Us
came
Blart.
up organically, and we found the answer. There are a lot of people who got right into the banana when this film came out at the cinema.
It's a fucking good scene. Honestly. Like,
You love that fucking name.
It's weird to think about when we make this show. Like, if you like knew the premise of the show, it's weird to think that the fact that like I would be totally stoked about anybody who is in that movie knowing the show exists and listening to it and enjoying it, except for probably Kevin James. And I don't even think
He's the only one. Everybody else crushes.
I even think Kevin would like. Maybe there's a part of Kevin that would be like, yeah, you got me. On a lot of this stuff, boys, you got him. You got Kevin. On this one, you got
Were
him.
we okay with Kevin last year, though?
Yeah. He would maybe appreciate the fact that now 4 watches in, because we're definitely the only 5 human beings on Earth who've watched this movie 5 times, is when you start to see stuff like the man throwing the oatmeal cookie off the balcony, which is hysterically funny, and nobody paid attention to it the first time because they were trying to follow the plot.
That's where
It's
you go
true.
wrong. Just it's a tone piece. It's not. You can't follow it.
It's a tone piece.
You can't follow it in a linear fashion.
Becky asks, can you do some fashion commentary this year? And I just want to say real quick, because it is specifically called out in the movie, Maya's bathing suit, it's a great bathing suit.
Yeah,
It's a great bathing suit.
I
And
enjoyed that bathing suit a lot.
Immediately
It's great.
followed by Paul Blart saying, "That's too. What are you doing? You
told me
that's
Victoria's
too
Secret.
risque." Yeah, it's
That's the joke, right? Because it's like a one-piece bathing suit?
Yeah.
Okay. So the...
A perfectly reasonable fine bathing
Joke
suit.
is hugely
I
joke
actually
is
have
his.
Joke is hugely
Yeah,
generous.
I actually have a note here, and this is not a joke. It's like six notes down, so it's close to the beginning of the movie, and it just says, "Paul's aquarium shirt fucking sucks." He's got a shirt that just looks like an aquarium, and it's too much. It's too loud.
I could save myself a lot of face by not waiting in here, but full confession, before you waded in with your written note, I'd made a mental note that I reckon I could do that shirt. I actually looked at the whole ensemble and I thought, yeah. I'm someone who looks like a tourist in literally any situation.
This is true, actually. Guys are often dressed like Paul Blart too. Like, seriously, you're about big colors, flashy patterns, kind of interesting synthetic fabrics like polar fleece and polyester. This is a bit, and you love a short. You're all about shorts. Get those gams out in front of the sun.
I got good gams.
You do.
You guys gotta come.
That's fucking wild, man. You just like Paul Blart too.
You love this shit. Guys, you all had such a negative viewing experience, and then we talk about the film and have an uproarious time. I'm talking about new
It's
laughs
possible
that
we
I
made us
found.
enjoy each other's company.
I think
Yeah,
that
that
might
might
be
be
it.
I do enjoy your company, but I think I actually had a very good watch, despite the fact that I did most of it with my horribly ill son. So maybe I shouldn't have enjoyed it as much as I did. But fuck, I
You
had
really
a fun
needed
time.
a laugh.
You
though, it
did
sounds
remind
like.
me. You reminded me of something that I thoroughly enjoyed. I watched it with BB. And after the keynote, when the whole audience started applauding, she stood up and started clapping with the audience,
That's
as
very
though
speech.
my daughter was clapping for Paul Blart, and I enjoyed that immensely.
I actually watched it with my kid for the first time, just because I was folding laundry, and she was the only one up with me. And the first time that they pull out a gun, I think it's right around the bulletproof suitcase scene, right around that area. She ran out of the room, and I said, "What's wrong, sweetie?" She said, "They're gonna shoot that big boy." It's like, yeah. Yes, it's awful tempting to wish that. Daddy wishes that was true, but no, Daddy promises they're not going to shoot the big boy, and he does in fact live to the end of the film.
On that note, one last question. This is from Kristen. What do we know about his dick based on the film?
I don't know why we have to talk about That.
We don't know a lot, but I will say this. It is not difficult to imagine Paul Blart unfurling his flaccid penis and dipping it into a beautiful pot of treacle.
Come on.
First thing on a Christmas morning.
Now, at this
Maybe that's it. His life is in ruins. Monster dong. Just beautiful piece down there.
At this point, you're almost certainly wondering, why didn't I choose another podcast to listen to? And the good news is I have a great one to recommend you. It is 99% Invisible. It's hosted by
I'm just
Roman
saying
Mars.
God doesn't take with both hands. He's got a
It's
bad life,
about
but his monster
design
dong.
and so the sort of invisible nature of design and the incredible people behind some of those creations. I've already given a lot of credit to some of my favorite episodes. I think the only thing that waits for you is to go to your podcatcher of choice. And, it could be overwhelming when you see a show that has 300 plus episodes. I would strongly encourage you find one recently that sounds interesting to you and just go with it. I don't think you're going to be disappointed no matter what. It's a wonderful series. And if it makes you feel any better,
you guys, you won't regret this. He's not even lying to you. It's a really good
Roman
show.
is a genuinely
show.
beautiful, sweet person who I love a whole lot, who gave a bunch of money signed seed to charity just to have us promote his podcast that everybody already knows about. So that is a huge endorsement.
And so long as we're all here, can I just take a quick moment to talk about the Rook and the Raven?
Please do.
Who make high quality disc-bound D&D, which we all know I'm a huge fan of, gaming notebooks for both players and DMs. That's Dungeon Masters, aka the Warden. Their Mischief and Misadventure campaign books not only feature a unique disc binding system that lets you add, remove, and rearrange the pages to suit your campaign, but they're also compatible with a variety of accessories and add-ons, such as wet erase overlays and spellbook card holders. See what all the fuss is about at the rookandtheraven.com/deathBlart and get $6.90 off your first order by December 1st.
Folks, this is a company that could have the bidding when they bid, the money they bid was at $1,000, and this the Rook and the Raven came in at $2,000. This was a bid. It was an auction. They could have gone with like 1,003, but no, they doubled the high bid, and that I think speaks a lot to the character of them. If you're into Dungeons and Dragons at all, I think you should definitely go.
I'm looking at them. I'm looking at them now. They look hot as shit,
get something
actually.
right now just to prove that they didn't go wrong. If you go to the Rook and the Raven, therookandtheraven.com/deathblart, you get 6.90, like 60. Nice. It's nice. You get $6.90 off if you order by December 1st. So it's like 69. It's very good.
That's an embarrassing innuendo because I don't know if you fellas are aware, but 69 also doubles as a sexual position.
What?
How's that work?
A very curious price point, to say the least. Look, Tim, I'm light on details, but that is an embarrassing coincidence for the good folks at the Rook and the Raven.
I love that this episode, Guy has also been playing the man who was grown in a vat character who needs to explain these wonderful things he's learned about the Earth in the last 4 minutes.
I'm on a spirit quiz, baby.
I think we're heading towards wrapping up. Is there anything anybody wants to plug?
Yeah, the Paul Blart Mall Cop video game.
Yeah, thank you.
Which is coming to all current generation consoles in 2019. Finally, you can have the virtual reality experience you've always dreamed of, being Kevin James protecting a mall.
Oh, wait, it's in VR?
Yeah, it's VR.
Ooh.
So
you're in character as Kevin James when he is offset in the world of filming Paul Blart
you
Mall
are
Cop 2.
filming. You got it, man. You are. So first of all, you've seen VR with the goggles. In this one, you put on a whole suit, which restricts your movements, but also loosens them up when you're on a Segway stage of the game. And it is you playing Kevin James, playing Paul Blart, making the movie. Wow. But also, there's a real set of crimes happening around you on the film set that you have to solve. So there's a lot to do. A lot of achievements.
God, they sunk a lot of money into that game. I hope that baby flies.
It's all paid for by a Foot Locker, luckily, Guy. They blew the budget.
I also would like to recommend I think it will be out in time for Christmas if the blogs are correct. and that is the book of all the still photographs taken on set with Kevin James. It's called The Art of Blart. You can get that. It's an amazing coffee table book that really captures a lot of the pain and the triumph, the joy and the sadness of the making of Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. Highly recommend.
I'm looking on YouTube. There is a Paul Blart Mall Cop video game.
No.
What?
I think it may just be like a Flash game. It looks good for a Flash game. Okay, anyway, sorry.
That's really cool.
I've been searching for a while and I can't find it. Any other big announcements?
We do actually. Guy, would you like to announce?
With
He's
pleasure.
pregnant. I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself.
No, Tim, don't be ridiculous. The truth of the matter is that behind the scenes, Tim and I, for the last sort of 3 or so months, have been squirreling away, mostly to reunite a friendship that lay dormant. And by virtue of doing this, we've also revived a podcast that was pronounced extinct, I think, by geologists. The Worst Idea of All Time, Season 4 is back. Date of release to be announced, in which Tim and I will watch and review Sex and the City, the movie.
No, not really. Though it's impossible. Impossible.
52 times as quickly as possible.
There's no way that's the actual film you're gonna watch. It's impossible.
Believe it. Believe it.
Yeah,
Absolute madman. Why that movie?
Already got a few miles on the clocks, boys.
I wanna put on my interviewer cap and just ask you why that film.
I guess it's embedded in some deep sense of self-loathing and nostalgia.
You could have
I'm
gone
so
with
sick
Grown
of
Ups 1,
people
though.
asking why.
You could have gone with Grown Ups 1, which I bet it would be more pleasurable.
We've already seen it. We've seen that movie. We knew what it was. Plus, stop asking why, people. Why do you do a podcast where you keep reviewing the same movie? Why'd you pick this movie? Hey, man, you know what? The world's a crazy place. Things happen.
Yeah,
Get on
Tim's
your
right.
Segway,
Fuck you,
deal
Justin.
with it.
Fair enough. This has been so fun. It's just a shame we don't get to do this every week. What a treat, as always. Thanks for listening. Kidding aside, we don't get a lot of opportunities to promote this program. So if you want to give us a rating and a review and help us out with that on iTunes, and also do the same for Worst Idea of All Time. If you enjoy the show, there's never been a better time to get on board because you're going to start getting new episodes soon. So go subscribe to that.
Buy Justin's book as well. I bought it and I love it. I bought it for my wife, but now I'm reading it. It's called Sawbones. It's excellent.
Yeah, please buy the Summons book. It's on Amazon. Thanks.
Oh, along those same lines, we do a D&D podcast called The Adventure Zone.
Now,
and
Guy, what is that?
Well, the Adventure Zone is a podcast wherein various different people or beings, you're not going to believe this, they go on various different adventures, detailed in audio form and captured and released to the internet at the Adventure Zone. So
This
pretty much
fucking
does
guy did not
exactly
read the book.
what it says on the tin.
Well, so we made a graphic novel out of the first Adventure Zone balanced chapter, and we got a second
Who
one.
is listening to this that doesn't know that already?
Okay, but you can
3 New
pre-order the second one.
Zealanders.
Yeah, you can pre-order it at theadventurezonecomic.com.
Great.
You
right.
boys, you're so cranky and lovable. It's so nice to talk to you. I hate Paul Blart so much. Don't watch the first movie. Don't watch the second movie. Just listen to the McElroys and Guy and me. Let's have fun out there, you guys. The world's complicated. Keep it simple. Just retreat into your podcast, and we'll see you all in 12 months.
All right.
Before liftoff, is anyone making any changes to the person to whom they have bequeathed their responsibility?
Oh, yes.
No, mine is still Stuart Wellington.
I don't think I had one firmed up. I actually had a discussion with Maureen Johnson, a young adult author who is fucking fantastic. She was on our live read for the Taz graphic novel, I think in Boston, I want to say, for our Boston show. And we talked about this podcast. We talked about Worst Idea of All Time. We talked about Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. And I could tell that she would be a trustworthy steward. So I offered, and she accepted. And then there was the signatory. We got all the stamps required. So that's where it stands.
Happy to hear it.
Excellent.
Well, Griff, it's well known that you'll be the first to fall, so it's nice to know that we're going to be in good company
Jesus.
come that devastating day.
Guy, who's yours?
Look, whoever I tagged last year, I can't remember
Was
who
it
it is,
James
but they
Hickman?
can
You didn't.
rest-
Didn't you claim you would live forever again? Because you're a little bitch who wiggles out of things.
Tim, did you pick James Acaster? Somebody did.
I don't know. If
God,
it was,
he's got
I'm
a new.
changing it.
Hey, as long as we're plugging shit, he's got a 4-part stand-up special on Netflix that is the fucking best shit
Dynamite.
Oh, man, I caught his new show. Oh, this is ridiculous. Why are we talking about it? But I saw his new show, Cold as Only Hate Myself 1999, and it's going to set your world on fire, my friend.
ever. I can't wait.
I just want to say before you close out, I can't stress enough. Don't watch the movie. Like, you might have listened to us and be like, "Oh, that sounds so bonkers. I have to check it out." Do not.
I disagree.
Don't.
I think it's fun.
Don't watch.
Fun time.
Yeah, watch it. It's a fun
Good flick. Good flick. Good flick. Good friends. Good fun. And as we say every year, not today, Death.
California